My name is Tessa, and I've always been passionate about fashion and style. This love for fashion led me to work at an elite clothing store, where I could immerse myself in the latest trends and help others find their perfect look. Despite my enthusiasm for high-end fashion, I've always been practical when it comes to my own wardrobe. I'm a master at finding great deals, scouring sales racks, and combining inexpensive pieces to create stylish outfits. My ultimate dream was to become an image stylist, helping people discover their unique style and feel confident in their own skin. I spent countless hours studying fashion magazines, watching runway shows, and experimenting with different looks on myself and my friends. One fateful evening, I attended a local fashion show, eager to soak in the latest designs and perhaps make some industry connections. As I was admiring a particularly striking ensemble on the catwalk, I felt someone's eyes on me. Turning slightly, I locked gazes with a tall, handsome man holding a professional-grade camera. After the show, he approached me with a charming smile. "Hi, I couldn't help but notice you during the show. I'm Jake, the photographer for tonight's event." I felt a flutter in my stomach as I introduced myself. "Nice to meet you, Jake. I'm Tessa. Your photos must be amazing if they're anything like the show itself." We fell into an easy conversation, discussing our favorite looks from the show and our shared love for fashion. Jake was not only talented but also knowledgeable about the industry. As we talked, I found myself drawn to his passion and creativity. "So, Tessa," Jake said, his eyes twinkling, "would you like to grab a coffee sometime? I'd love to hear more about your style philosophy." I couldn't help but smile. "I'd like that, Jake. Here's my number." From that moment, Jake and I started dating. As our relationship grew stronger, Jake introduced me to his parents, Mark and Linda. I was nervous at first, but they welcomed me with open arms. Linda, in particular, seemed to take a shine to me. "Oh, Tessa," she gushed during our first meeting, "that outfit is simply stunning. You have such a great eye for fashion." I blushed at the compliment. "Thank you, Linda. I actually got this on sale. I love finding good deals and mixing affordable pieces." Mark nodded approvingly. "That's a smart approach, Tessa. It's important to be financially savvy these days." Just as I was starting to feel comfortable, Jake's younger sister, Megan, walked into the room. The moment she laid eyes on me, I could sense her disdain. She looked me up and down, a smirk playing on her lips. Mark, oblivious to the tension, turned to his daughter. "Megan, you could learn a thing or two from Tessa about saving money." Megan's eyes narrowed. "I'm not interested in saving on everything like some poor people," she spat, her gaze fixed on me. "I prefer to live life to the fullest." I felt my cheeks burn with embarrassment, but what hurt more was Jake's reaction. Instead of defending me, he just looked at Megan with an indulgent smile, as if her rudeness was somehow endearing. The weeks following that first encounter with Jake's family were a whirlwind of emotions. One sunny afternoon, I was walking down Main Street, lost in thought about a new styling project at work, when I heard a familiar, mocking voice. Well, well, well. If it isn't the bargain hunter herself. "Off to another sale, Tessa?" I looked up to see Megan standing with a group of her friends, all of them giggling at her clever remark. For a moment, I felt that familiar sting of embarrassment, but then I remembered who I was and what I stood for. With a calm smile, I replied, "As a matter of fact, Megan, you're right. There's a sale on that new luxury collection at Bergdorf's. Today's the day to get it for half price. Want to join me?" The laughter died on Megan's lips as her friends' eyes widened with interest. "Really?" one of them asked, stepping towards me. "That collection is gorgeous. I'd love to check it out." Before I knew it, Megan's friends had surrounded me, peppering me with questions about the sale and my shopping strategies. We ended up spending the afternoon together, hunting for deals and sharing styling tips. As we parted ways, they thanked me profusely, completely ignoring Megan, who stood fuming on the sidelines. A few days later, I was at work, arranging a display of our latest arrivals, when I heard the store's bell chime. I turned to greet the customer and found myself face to face with Megan. "Hello, sister dear," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I'm here to do some shopping, and since we're practically family, I'm sure you'll be giving me a nice discount, right?" I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay professional. "I'm sorry, Megan, but this is a new collection. We don't offer discounts on new arrivals, even for family members. I hope you understand." "Understand? Oh, I understand perfectly," Megan sneered. "You're just a selfish trash who doesn't care about family. Wait until Jake hears about this." That evening, my phone buzzed with a message from Jake. "We need to talk. Can I come over?" When Jake arrived at my apartment, his expression was stern. "Tessa, what's this I hear about you refusing to help my sister?" I explained the situation, emphasizing the store's policy and my professional integrity. But Jake didn't seem to understand. "Come on, Tessa. It's just a small discount. You could have made an exception for Megan. She's going to be your sister-in-law someday." "Jake, I can't compromise my job or my principles, even for family. Especially not for someone who's been nothing but rude to me since we met." Jake's face hardened. "That's just how Megan is. You need to learn to deal with it if you're going to be part of this family." As Jake left that night, I felt a knot forming in my stomach. I loved him, but I was starting to see a side of him that made me uncomfortable. A side that always seemed to prioritize Megan's wants over my needs. The weeks that followed were tense. Jake and I tried to move past the incident with Megan, but it left a sour taste in my mouth. I found myself second-guessing our relationship, wondering if Jake would ever truly stand up for me. One evening, as I was preparing for a family dinner at Jake's parents' house, my phone buzzed with a message from Linda, Jake's mother. "Tessa, dear, I was wondering if you could help me with something. Megan's been talking about a rich man she's been seeing. I'm worried she's not taking her future seriously. Could you maybe talk to her about wedding planning? You seem to have such good taste and sense." I stared at the message, my stomach churning. The last thing I wanted was to get involved in Megan's life, but I couldn't refuse Linda. With a sigh, I typed out a reluctant agreement. At dinner that night, the tension was palpable. Megan was practically glowing as she regaled us with tales of her new beau. "He's loaded," she bragged, waving her fork for emphasis. "Private jet, yacht, the works. We're talking about a spring wedding in the Maldives." Jake beamed at his sister. "That's fantastic, Meg. Don't let this one slip away." I felt a twinge of hurt at Jake's enthusiasm. He'd never shown that much excitement about our relationship. Linda cleared her throat. "Speaking of weddings, Megan, have you started planning yet? Tessa here has quite an eye for these things. Maybe she could give you some advice?" Megan's face darkened. "I don't need advice from her," she snapped. "Especially not about weddings. What would she know about luxury events?" I bit my tongue, reminding myself that I was doing this for Linda. "I'd be happy to help if you need it, Megan. Even high-end weddings require careful budgeting and planning." "Thanks, but no thanks," Megan sneered. "I'll stick to professional wedding planners. You can keep your bargain bin ideas to yourself." I saw Linda's face fall, and I felt a mix of relief and disappointment. Part of me was glad to be off the hook, but another part wished I could have helped Linda. As we were leaving that night, Linda pulled me aside. "I'm so sorry about Megan, dear. I don't know where we went wrong with her." I patted her arm. "It's all right, Linda. Some people just have different values." As autumn leaves started to fall, Jake surprised me with a proposal. Despite my lingering doubts, I found myself saying yes. The ring was beautiful, a large diamond that must have cost a fortune. I couldn't help but wonder if this extravagant gesture was influenced by Megan's constant boasting about her wealthy fiancé. Nevertheless, I threw myself into wedding planning with enthusiasm. This was my chance to showcase my styling skills and create something truly unique. I spent countless hours sketching designs, researching vendors, and crafting a cohesive vision for our big day. As the weeks passed, I poured my heart into every aspect of the planning. I designed a unique wedding dress with a stunning oversized bow, created mood boards for the bridesmaids' looks, and developed a comprehensive styling guide for our guests. The centerpiece of my vision was the venue decoration. I planned to transform the space with a cohesive design that incorporated unexpected elements and exclusive details. I sketched out beautiful photo areas, designed an elegant arch, and even created custom invitations and guest favors that tied into the overall theme. One day, while having coffee with Linda, I shared some of my ideas. Her eyes lit up with excitement. "Oh, Tessa, these are wonderful," she exclaimed. "You have such a talent for this. I wish Megan would put half as much thought into her wedding." I felt a twinge of sympathy for Linda. "Is Megan not very involved in her planning?" Linda sighed. "Not at all. She says her fiance's family is handling everything. I'm worried she's not taking it seriously enough. Maybe you could talk to her about her dress?" At the next family dinner, I awkwardly brought up the subject with Megan. "So, have you started looking at wedding dresses yet?" Megan rolled her eyes. "Please, I don't need fashion advice from someone who shops at sales." I bit my tongue, reminding myself I was doing this for Linda. "I just thought, since I'm in the industry, I might be able to help you find something unique." "I don't need unique," Megan snapped. "I need expensive and impressive. Something that will show everyone how well I'm marrying." I saw Jake nod approvingly at his sister's words, and my heart sank. Was this really the family I was marrying into? As the dinner went on, Megan continued to brag about her upcoming nuptials. "Nothing but the best for us." As we drove home in silence, I felt a growing unease. It seemed that no matter what I did, it would never be enough in the eyes of Jake and his sister. I was beginning to wonder if I was losing sight of myself in trying to please them. The day of Megan's wedding arrived, exactly 2 months before my own planned nuptials. Jake and I had been invited, of course, and as we pulled up to the venue, I felt a sense of excitement. I was curious to see what kind of event Megan had planned, given her constant boasting about luxury and extravagance. However, the moment I stepped into the venue, my heart stopped. I gasped, unable to believe my eyes. The entire place was decorated exactly as I had meticulously planned for my own wedding. Every single detail, from the custom arch to the intricate table settings, was a perfect replica of my designs. Even the flowers on the tables were arranged precisely according to the layouts I had spent weeks perfecting. I stood there, frozen in disbelief, as guests milled around me, oohing and awing over the beautiful decor. Each compliment felt like a dagger to my heart. These were my ideas, my dreams, now being admired at someone else's wedding. The final blow came when Megan and her fiance made their entrance. My jaw dropped as I saw Megan gliding down the aisle in a dress identical to the one I had custom designed for myself. In her hands was the exact bouquet I had envisioned for my own walk down the aisle. I felt numb as I silently inspected the scene around me. My dream had been ruthlessly stolen and brought to life at this wedding, surrounded by our mutual friends, family, and acquaintances. The guests were excitedly snapping photos in the beautiful photo zones I had conceptualized, completely unaware that they were admiring stolen ideas. In a daze, I pulled Jake aside. "How is this possible?" I whispered urgently. "Everything here is exactly what I planned for our wedding." "How did Megan get my designs?" Jake shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my gaze. "I think you're imagining things, Tessa," he said nervously. "All weddings look kind of similar, don't they?" His dismissive response only fueled my growing anger and disbelief. I knew what I was seeing. This wasn't just a coincidence, it was a blatant theft of my vision. As I approached Megan, her fiancé, and the small crowd gathered around them, I could hear the enthusiastic praise from relatives and friends. "Oh, Megan, the decorations are simply exquisite," one aunt gushed. "Everything is so thoughtfully arranged. You've outdone yourself," another guest chimed in. Megan basked in the attention, a smug smile playing on her lips. "Thank you all so much," she replied, her voice dripping with false modesty. "I've been secretly working on this for 6 months. I wanted everything to be perfect." Her fiancé's parents nodded approvingly, lavishing more praise on their future daughter-in-law. The sight made my blood boil. I couldn't stand by and watch her take credit for my hard work and creativity. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward and raised my voice so everyone could hear. "I'm curious, Megan. Who exactly is the designer and the author of these wedding decoration ideas?" The chatter around us immediately ceased. You could have heard a pin drop in the sudden silence. Megan's smug expression faltered, replaced by a look of panic. She glanced around nervously, clearly caught off guard by my direct question. Linda, Jake's mother, turned to me with a confused expression. "Tessa, dear, is everything all right?" Before I could respond, Jake appeared at my side, grabbing my arm. "Tessa, can I talk to you for a moment?" he whispered urgently, trying to pull me away. "Please, don't ruin this day for Megan." But I stood my ground, shaking off his grip. I was done being silenced and overlooked. "No, Jake. I want to know why your sister stole my ideas. And where did she get that wedding dress? It's exactly like the one I designed for our wedding." Megan's eyes widened in fear, and she looked pleadingly at Jake. The guests around us began to murmur, picking up on the growing tension. Jake stepped between us, his face flushed with embarrassment. "Tessa, please. Our wedding isn't for another 2 months. By then, everyone will have forgotten about this design." His dismissive words only fueled my anger. "Forgotten?" I repeated, my voice rising. "Jake, do you have any idea how much time and effort I put into these designs? This isn't just about the wedding, it's about respect and honesty." Turning back to Megan, I demanded, "How did you find out about my decor ideas? Where did you get my dress design?" The silence that followed was deafening. Jake's shoulders slumped in defeat, and he finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I gave them to her, Tessa. I showed Megan all your designs and sketches." I felt as if the ground had fallen out from under me. "You what?" Jake couldn't meet my eyes as he continued. "And the dress. I gave her your dress too. I thought it would help her make her wedding unique." Gasps of shock rippled through the crowd of guests. Linda's hand flew to her mouth in disbelief. Megan's fiancé took a step back, looking at his bride-to-be with a mix of confusion and disappointment. The revelation that Megan was wearing my wedding dress hit me like a physical blow. "How could you do this to me, Jake?" To my shock, Jake's demeanor suddenly changed. He stood straighter, a defiant look in his eyes. "I don't see what the big deal is, Tessa," he said brazenly. "It's just a dress. It's not like it's a disposable thing, it can be worn multiple times." I stared at him, unable to believe what I was hearing. But Jake wasn't done. "Look," he continued, his voice growing bolder. "We can postpone our wedding for a year if you're so upset. By then, everyone will have forgotten about these designs anyway." Then, the final blow came. "Besides," Jake added, his tone dismissive, "I'd do anything for my sister." At these words, Megan's face lit up with a triumphant smile. She turned to the stunned crowd and announced loudly, "That's right. I'm so happy to wear this beautiful dress, especially knowing how much it bothers Tessa. Don't worry, Tessa, you can wear it after me, if Jake still wants to marry you, that is." Something snapped inside me at that moment. I looked around at the stolen decor, the copied dress, and the man I thought I loved standing there, defending this betrayal. In that instant, I knew what I had to do. "There won't be a wedding to postpone," I declared, my voice ringing out clearly. "I'm canceling it. I refuse to marry a man who puts his sister's petty desires above my feelings and our relationship." A collective gasp went through the crowd. But before Jake or Megan could respond, an unexpected voice spoke up. "Tessa is right," Linda, Jake's mother, said firmly. She turned to her children, her face a mask of disappointment. I'm ashamed of both of you. Stealing someone's ideas and dreams, is this how we raised you? Megan's future in-laws stepped forward, their faces grim. We're deeply disappointed, Megan's would-be father-in-law stated. A marriage should not begin with lies and theft. Megan's face contorted with rage. She whirled on her future in-laws, screaming, I don't care what you think. This is my wedding, and I'll do whatever I want. The outburst seemed to be the last straw for Megan's fiancé. He stepped away from her, a look of shock and disgust on his face. Walking over to where the DJ was set up, he picked up the microphone. I'm sorry, everyone, he announced, his voice echoing through the venue. But there won't be a wedding today. I can't marry someone who would behave this way. As chaos erupted around us, Jake turned on me, his face red with anger. Look what you've done, he shouted. You've ruined Megan's wedding. How could you be so selfish and greedy? But before I could respond, Jake's parents stepped between us. That's enough, Jake, his father said sternly. Your sister ruined her own wedding, and you helped her do it. Your mother and I are ashamed that we raised children who would act like this. As the reality of the situation sank in, I stood there, surrounded by the physical manifestation of my stolen dreams. But despite the chaos and heartbreak, I felt a strange sense of relief. In exposing this betrayal, I had dodged a bullet. I had discovered the true nature of the man I almost married. After careful consideration and consultation with a lawyer, I decided to pursue legal action against Jake. I demanded compensation for both the moral damage inflicted and the financial losses incurred from our canceled wedding. To my surprise and gratitude, Linda, Jake's mother and my almost mother-in-law, stepped forward to support me. I'll testify on your behalf, Tessa, she told me, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and resolve. What Jake and Megan did was inexcusable, and they need to face the consequences. The court proceedings were grueling, but I was prepared. I presented all my original layouts, sketches, and designs, along with detailed receipts of every expense related to our planned wedding. As I stood there, surrounded by the physical evidence of my stolen dreams, I felt a strange sense of closure. In the end, the court ruled in my favor. Jake was ordered to pay compensation for both the moral and financial damages. As the judge announced the verdict, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't about the money, it was about justice and validation. In the months that followed, I maintained a warm relationship with Linda and Mark, my almost in-laws. They kept me updated on the family drama that unfolded in the wake of the scandal. Megan, they told me, had been cut off financially and was forced to take a low-paying job. It was a harsh lesson, but perhaps a necessary one. Jake's professional life took a hit as well. Word spread quickly in the tight-knit wedding industry about how he had stolen designs for his sister's wedding. Clients became wary, and his once thriving photography business began to struggle. It was a stark reminder that integrity matters, especially in a business built on trust and celebrating life's most precious moments. As for me, I threw myself into my studies with renewed passion. I completed my stylist courses, specializing in wedding fashion. The irony wasn't lost on me, the very event that had almost derailed my life was now the cornerstone of my career. To my delight, my services quickly became sought after. Clients appreciated my attention to detail, my ability to create unique, personalized designs, and perhaps most importantly, my unwavering commitment to originality and integrity. As I stood in my studio one day, surrounded by sketches of wedding gowns and mood boards for upcoming nuptials, I couldn't help but smile. The journey had been painful, but it had led me exactly where I needed to be. I was living my dream on my own terms, creating beauty and joy for others without compromising my values.